think a little bit about what are some things we already covered. I bet by now you're familiar with the Greek alphabets, okay, especially the small letters. That's cool. And secondly, we talked about, what do you guys would say?
Set. And thus, that's it.
I'm sorry? Accent marks, breathing marks,
And
circumflex, all that, okay? And we started understanding the noun system, okay, right? We talked about, there are 4 categories, right? What would you say? Nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative, right? So we have, generally nominative is the subject, and generally the accusative is the object, dative can be the indirect object, and the genitive generally explains who owns it, the possession of it. So we are not yet gone to the verbs, we are talking about nouns, okay? And we talked about first declension nouns, and we talked about cardia, and we talked about phony. Those are the 2 words we work with, and both are feminine. We figured out in Greek there is masculine, feminine, and neuter. Okay, so, and then we saw that even today in my message I was saying that when you look at you as a word, in English, you never know whether it is singular, whether it's plural, it is addressing. For example, what is cool in Greek is, if you are addressing 2 girls, you can have a definite article which is feminine and plural, which is impossible in English, right? So, in Greek that is possible, right? In Philippians, Paul writes to 2 women to reconcile. Do you remember that? Phoebe and some Syntyche and Phoebe, I think. 2 ladies were not getting along with each other. And Paul writes to them saying, get along with each other, help them. There, when he writes to those 2 as a plural, he uses a feminine plural article, which is not possible in English, but we see that in Greek. Okay, so we talked about articles, we talked about, and then we said Greek sentence formation is not English, like English. English, the sentence formation, how do you know? By the sequence of words, which is subject, which is object, because it comes first, second, all that, right? But in Greek, you will know only by their extensions, or what you call as a declension, right? Something happens to the end of the word, right? And looking at that, you will say this is the subject, this is the object or indirect object, and all that. So this whole idea of declension is different feminine nouns, neuter nouns, masculine nouns decline differently. In general, there is always some exceptions. So the whole idea, we are learning this so that we could identify the noun and ask yourself, what noun is this and what is the function of this noun in the sentences? Whether it is trying to be a possession or is object or subject, what is going on, right? So now we are talking about second declension nouns, where we are talking about mostly the numbers. Okay, so can you guys read that on top, this corner, what it says? You guys know the alphabet.
Here. Yeah.
N, archi, N, O, logos, right? So N is basically a preposition, right? Archi, right, is, you see the, archi has that little, in the beginning, the word. Okay, keep trying that. Okay, numbers will move forward. Numbers will move forward. Noun declension. In English, you see that boy, boys, box, boxes, men, man, men, food, feet. So, Plural, singular, plural. How a singular becomes plural, we have two ways of doing, right? Somewhere it is only adding ears, sometimes there is a change in the little word itself, right? Which is not new. So this can also happen in the stem, also can change in Greek also. So I just want you to be aware. We can move on. Second declension, gender. We all know feminine gender, phony, cardia. Mostly feminine gender nouns end with what alphabet is this? Sorry? Good. Eta. Right? This is obviously alpha. Okay, what alphabet is this? P.
And very about the Nega. Then we came to go, and
Null, kappa, alpha, rho, delta, iota, alpha. Okay, it's a good revision for you to think about the alphabets. Right, so phony, cardia. So second declension nouns, we are talking about masculine nouns and neuter nouns. Okay. Sometimes people say neuter is things, not necessary. For example, teknon. Teknon means what? Child. Child is not a thing. It's a living. Why am I saying this? Holy Spirit is a neuter. When you get to the words, you will know. Right? Okay, so that's where some argument comes from Jehovah's Witness saying that Holy Spirit is not a being, because they say it is a neuter, right? But this is not, neuter doesn't necessarily mean they are things. Generally they are, but not necessarily. Okay? So if you ask me why it is like that, that's how the language is designed. Okay? So what is this? Logos, teknon. See this os ending, it shows it is a masculine. On ending shows that it is a neuter. Right? Eta ending and alpha ending shows you that it is feminine. So in general. Why? Because this will decline differently in the ending. This will differently, it will decline in the ending. So when you look at the ending, you start thinking, okay, this is a feminine noun. And what is its role in the sentence? Whether it's an object, whether it's a subject, whether it's a possession or an indirect object, all that you can start asking questions because you know the declensions. Okay, so we are trying to understand how the nouns decline. That is our travel right now. The next chapter we will be studying is the verbs, verb forms. Okay? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, case, nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. So the same thing, right? We just a revision. Subject, possession, indirect object, and direct object. Cases are almost same for. Now there is another case called vocative case. We'll come in a minute. We don't have to worry about it. But it comes very, very rarely in the Greek text. But you have to be aware because in some one or two words you see that. Okay, we'll move on. Right now, this is what we need to remember. Okay, so this is something we have to memorize. What is called as a paradigm. The second declension noun forms. Okay, now this is all definite article for a masculine noun form. Feminine, you would have had a eta there, right? This is masculine. These are the articles. So that is where I said when you see an article like this, for example, like this, you know that you are dealing with a masculine, plural, indirect object. Okay, now logos, logo, logo, logon, logoi, logon, logois, logos. Okay, this is almost same in most of the declensions. The masculine and neuter genitive plural form have the same ending as the feminine genital plural form, right? I think when last time you memorized for cardia, this on is everywhere, right? Phonon, cardion, right? So the genitive plural is same for almost all the noun declensions. So if you see here, this is what we call as a stem. Logos. So we have os, au, on. If you look at it, it is the same thing here for the definite article also. The logoi, oi, again on, ois, aus. Okay, so this you have to by heart. Then you will be able to identify later in a sentence. Okay, this is going to be on your quiz. Okay, can you guys read? Ha, logos. How do you say this? To, logo. To, this is tau, to, logo. This is logao, logo, ton, logon. Oi, logoi, ton, logon, tois, logois, taus, logos. So have fun with all the pronunciation. Okay, so you have to memorize this. It is a subscript.
Yes, we knows that as a video for me, we have a God abortion.
This doesn't make any difference in your pronunciation. No difference. It is only for identification. Right? So, yeah. To and to, it's very hard to differentiate. But the only thing we are saying is, when you see this, you know it is playing a dative role, an indirect object. Aage badhe. Okay, now this is for the neuter. Okay, again you see genitive plural is same. Now, if you watch carefully, in the neuter, this is exactly same as masculine, but for nominative and accusative. Otherwise, they are same. There you saw logo, to, the same thing, to and to, right? Techno, logo, right? Again, this is techno. The only thing is, nominative and accusative, both singular and plural, they have the same form. Technon, techno, 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 technon, techna, technon, technois, techna. So what is the confusion now? When you see this noun in a sentence, how do you know whether it is nominative or accusative? How do you know? It goes with the context.
With the boy white about this thing just like the better.
That's true.
Why they just kept seeing.
But, right, see, that is where at some point it becomes tricky. Okay, and again the problem here with neuter is even the articles are same. If the articles are different, then if the noun has an article, you could say, oh, it is an accusative. But with the neuter, so you have to, looking at the sentence which you will figure out at some point, that whether it is acting like is it a subject or it is an object. Only the context can decide. Okay, so, yeah, so because Kandiya and Tekna doesn't mean this is a feminine, it is because of declension. This is its nominative form, but this is a declined form for plural for nominative and accusative. This you have to by heart. In this class, you have to by heart the masculine logos paradigm, and you have to by heart the neuter teknon paradigm.
Even when you are in Greek, you might study the interpretation, right?
I'm sorry?
The context you are in Greek, right? So if you are reading Python Greek also, we might study the interpretation there.
Yes. In Bible study, in any good exegetical study or whatever you call it, context is the king. You always think context. You take things out of context, it can be a mess. So Greek is definitely a very contextual language. It's a little advanced language. Hebrew is a little more ancient, right? But that also is complicated. Okay, so you're clear with this? You have to by heart these two paradigms. That's and apart from the vocabulary, this would be the two homework for memorizing. This memorizing is so critical, right? Even if you spend 5-10 minutes every day, one day nobody can memorize, right? Brain wants constant repetition. Then it goes from what they call, from a shallow memory to a deeper memory. You take it to a deeper memory by repetition. If you keep on looking at it again and again, right? Because there are some things in a deep memory you will never forget. But it needs repetition. Okay, we'll move on.
So this is called ability for any noun. Is happening and we use their word. Are we not?
Yes. So most of the neuter forms will have on in the ending. And they will decline like this. So for example, if you're looking at a sentence, you're dealing with masculine nouns, you're dealing with feminine nouns, you're dealing with neuter nouns. They all are there in the sentence. And their endings look different. So your whole goal of studying these paradigms, number one job is to identify. We're not going to write Greek poetry, right? So that's completely a different level of language capacity. Our goal is identify and translate, interpretation. Okay? So current Greek might look more different than what we're studying right now, but the whole idea is for you to identify the words and see what are they doing in the sentence, in the context. Okay, so here if you see that ho logos, the subject is coming in the end of the sentence. En archi, en ho logos. If you see the sentence, even that sentence, where is the subject you're seeing? Right in the end. Right? And, so, okay, we'll move on. Okay, now this is what we're talking about, vocative case, which we don't need to memorize, but just be aware it shows up in some of the very few places it shows up, and basically it is, what do you call, is for direct address. Sir, sometimes, the Canaanite woman comes to Jesus, and she uses the word sir, right? Right? Sometimes they use the word kuri. So this, what alphabet is this? Epsilon, right? So kuri, ui, ha, anthropoi. I think that, you press one more time. Is there a, okay, no. I think this is, home and this word is together. So this epsilon, you don't worry about too much about it. Just want you to be aware. Vocative case, we will have few words and, which is a direct address. Lord, have mercy on me. Okay, Son of Man. So this is where the vocative case comes into action. It is for you to be aware, nothing to memorize, nothing to worry about it. Because nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. There is also something called vocative case, which is very few words in the Greek Bible, but most of the time, all the time, they're used for address. Like you're calling somebody, right? That's where it is used. We ask. Okay, proper nouns. Proper nouns is basically what are proper nouns? Names, right? Proper nouns are names. Place, name. Mostly when you read the Greek Bible, it will be capitalized. In the middle of the sentence, this first alphabet will be in capitals. That helps you to know that these are names. Otherwise, you'll be breaking the head. What word is this? Okay. And some proper nouns are declinable, but many, especially foreign names, are not. Right? Declinable means some names, the end can change. That means some proper nouns can have a genitive form, can have a nominative form, dative form, accusative form. Some nouns. But some nouns, though they are possession or indirect object, they can't be declined. Only you will know by the article. Okay, easy from Galilee. Okay, if it is declinable, the Galilee would be from genitive, or let's say it's genitive. The Galilee word would have a declension in the end to know it is genitive. But most of the foreign names will not decline. So only the article can tell you that proper noun is an object or a subject or a possession. Did you get me? Am I clear? Am I clear?
His name in the plan.
Yeah, feel free to stop me. Okay, now what is this Israel? Right? Israel. What role it is playing? Proper noun. So this article is telling what? What case is this?
Found relative singular. Or it said even it. It said in the way. Tell that. But turn up paid.
Dative. So the Israel is playing as an indirect object mostly. So you're asking what is the name playing, what is the role it's playing, right? So here there is no declension in the end. This proper noun, there is no any clue here whether what role it is playing. So you could only find it. The article will communicate its function in the sentence. Artha ida? For example, you put Rahul or one of you in the name. Foreign names, the end will not change. Rahul is Rahul, right? So you add an article to tell what Rahul. Is he a direct object? Is he an indirect object? Or is he the subject? So that works out. Okay?
So creating an community proper nouns that will be an article.
They.
Then look what you're so purpose of the other cut.
What is the purpose of?
You said the apple with pet shape.
See, that's what I'm saying. In proper nouns, some proper nouns will decline. Some proper nouns will not. When they decline, then you know their function by the little decoration in the end. Right? But if they are not able to decline, the only way you will know is by the article. For example, here the Israel, there is no decline. If you put Israel as a nominative or a genitive or an accusative, Israel will remain as Israel. The only way you will know it's a function is by seeing the article. Right? The author gives you a clue saying what is this playing. Right? See, the funny thing is when somebody is writing in a different language, he is writing it differently. We are coming from a different direction. So we have to think like them, right? For us, it is all the time, Madhu went to work, right? So we always say it that way. So we think that way. So when you come here, you take that cap out and think like a Greek author, right? What is the subject? First you're searching for the subject before interpreting. Okay? आगे बढ़े.
Yeah, but the issue is not an offense in.
Sorry? Same.
Israel. It is a
Israel. Right? What alphabet is this? Iota, capital iota. Sigma, rho, alpha, eta, lambda, Israel. Abraham, there is no H. Okay, so when you write Abraham in Greek, you write Abraham. Okay, anyway, when the proper noun comes, you will know. Okay, आगे बढ़े. So we see here when the article is not provided, then the context determines the meaning.
This on mouse that are found after that's it for
एलिसोन में कुरी वियास दाविद. एलिसोन में, right? एलिसोन में कुरी, this is vocative. Vias, David. Vias is son. Right? So, Elizon may have mercy on me, Lord, son of David. Now, the problem is, David is not declined. It's a proper name. There is no article. So, how do you figure out? By context. What you have is, Vias is, you see this is a masculine verb. How do you know? Os is in the end. And it is nominative. Right? David, there's no clue, right? Delta, alpha, epsilon, iota, delta. What is this? Delta. This same capital and small letter. So we ask David, son of David, it is playing the role of possession. It is playing as a genitive. So neither we have a declension, nor we have an article. The context decides. You know what I'm saying? So when you're studying this time and again, we're going to talk about the context. Right? And you get used to it. So that's where in translation, when you learn a lot of footnotes, one of the cool thing to do is, if you have a laptop, read Net Bible. Heard about Net Bible? New English Translation. If you have a Bible, what is it? Bible software, what is it? The most common one. Anyway, it's not coming to my head. Generally on Google, you find that multiple, So anyway, if you take a net translation, it will show the scriptures. Down, it will give a lot of notes. In fact, net translation is the only translation it even puts out the translation battles. They took it as genitive. If I take an accusative, how the translation would sound. If you take genitive, how the translation is sounding. So it is a battle even for the translators. You read it in English, you go with it, but the translator struggles because he decides based on the context. The translation team decides. But here it is pretty much straightforward. Okay, and some of these have connotations to Old Testament. So you have some clues. Son of David is a very famous phrase from an Old Testament perspective. Okay, everybody knows the Messiah would come from David's lineage. So that's something there. Okay, Ha Yosef. Right, so not Joseph, whatever through the article is sometimes used with proper names. You don't need to translate it. Okay, so the idea is every time the article comes, you don't need to write the Joseph. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it is given only for you to know the purpose of it, not necessarily. It needs to be all the time. The article needs to be translated. The Joseph. No, it's just Joseph. Am I good with proper nouns? Some idea? Okay. Second declension nouns, parsing practice. Okay, parsing is basically identifying the different pieces of the same verb, right? Okay, we'll hang here. Logos, okay. Now, this is the word, logoi. This is a, parsing means telling very clearly, the lexical form is logos, the gender is male, the case is nominative, the number is, it's a plural noun, words, Logos means words, not word. The translation is words. So this is called parsing practice. Right? You take a noun and you break the noun into pieces and say, what is this? So it is a masculine, nominative, plural, noun form of logos, which means words. Initially, it looks like a long process. Over a period of time, it becomes your reflex. Oh, it's a plural. It is like as you read English. Initially, it is like that. But as days goes by, same thing with teknon. Okay, so teknon, it can be both nominative and accusative. If we know that, right? Teknon is the lexical form. If it is tekna, then it is plural. And again, it could be both accusative or nominative. Okay? If it is teknon, omega and what is this alphabet? No. Then you know it is a genitive plural. So you understood what parsing means? Breaking the noun into identifying the noun. So this is what is called parsing. It is a big part of translation. Okay, आगे बढ़ें. Okay, these are some examples. Okay, doulo. You know what is doulos? It's a pretty famous word. Doulos means slave or servant, but technically it means slave, right? Many times Paul calls himself doulos. Okay, Vias means son. Now, doulo, so this is what declension? Dative. So we are saying it is a masculine gender, it is a dative case, it is a singular, and the idea is to or for a slave. Where when you translate indirect object, we use to or for. Possession is of. Right? Vias means uyur. Uyur. It is masculine, the case is genitive, it is singular, translation is of a son. Good? Okay, we'll move on. That is parsing. Lastly, vocabulary. We are finishing here. Okay, so you have to by heart this, especially the translation. Amy is I am or I exist. Akuo is, now we are getting into, these are verbs. How do you know a verb? Generally, in a non-declined verb, that means we'll go to this, how this will go under a dance, we'll talk about later. A non-declined verb will have a omega ending. If it is omega ending, you know it is a verb. Next class is all about verbs. So I just want you to aware. They're already starting memorizing verbs. Okay? Amy is I am, I exist. Amy is almost like an equal to. In a sentence, right? It is almost like equal to. We will see. Okay. Akuo means I hear. Right? That's where the word comes, acoustics. Lot of English word has Greek background, like cardiology, plenty of words. Okay. Akuo means I hear. Ginosko. Ginosko means I know, I understand, I acknowledge. By the way, though it all looks so simple, even words, nouns has a lot of nuances. It has a bandwidth of meaning. So again, the translator has to decide based on the context. What word should I use? Okay. So, Ginosko means I know. You don't need to memorize everything, at least one word. Best you can say Akuo means I hear. Ginosko means I know. Grapho means I, right? From there it comes graphics. Graphics. Ginosko Gnostics, Gnostic is a cult sect that said knowledge and all that. Okay, all comes from there. Okay, echo means I have. You're going to memorize all this. Okay, basically you have all our verbs only. Next. I have, I hold. Lego, a very common word, I say. Okay. Lambano means I take. Luo, next class you will, when you're dealing with verbs, this is the sample verb we will use for all declension purposes. Luo, because it's very simple. Luo means I lose. Pisteuo is I believe. You find it very often in the Greek Bible. Pisteuo. Pistis is faith, pisteuo is I believe. So you'll find the noun form and also the verb form. Apokrinomai, I answer. Apokrinomai, I answer. Okay, it's all verbs. Lego, lambano, luo, pisteuo, apokrinomai, I answer. We have almost. Okay, what is that? First one. Ginomai. You guys are doing great. Ginomai means I become. I exist. Right? Erkomai. Now there is this my ending in itself is a verb of its kind. We will talk about it later. Erkomai. Right? What is the next one? Poriomai. Right? I go, I travel. Allah, not Allah, Allah. Allah means, but it's a conjunction. Allah is a conjunction. Haughty is a conjunction. Conjunction is basically a word that connects two sentences or two statements. Allah, haughty. So we have to memorize all this. Haughty and Allah, you see them very often so ginomai, erkomai, poriomai, Allah, haughty. So when you're memorizing, read it loud. Have fun. It sticks with your brain. Okay. That's it. Okay. So that's the end of second declension now. Amen. Thank you. Do you want to switch this off? Shut this down. Okay, any doubts?